बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। नाज़रीन कराम अस्सलाम वालेकुम। हस्ब मामूल वॉइस ऑफ जर्मनी की उर्दू सर्विस में इरफान अहमद खान और अब्बास अनवर आपकी खिदमत में हाजिर हैं। नाज़रीन, 5 फरवरी यौम यकजहती कश्मीर का तारीख़ी दिन है, जिसकी अहमियत में हर साल इजाफा हो रहा है और इसकी वजह जो है वो भारत की हरधर्मी और कश्मीरियों के साथ नाइंसाफ़ी का जो मबनी सलूक जो है वो इसकी अहमियत को और बढ़ा रहा है। फरवरी का महीना शुरू होते ही यौम यकजहती कश्मीर को मनाने की तैयारियां जो है वो शुरू हो जाती हैं। जर्मनी में भी पाकिस्तानी तंजीमें हैं, उनकी कोशिशों से मुख्तलिफ शहरों में सेमिनार और मुज़ाहरों का इनेकाद किया जाता है, लेकिन कोविड-19 की वजह से इस साल उस तरीक पर तो बड़े बड़े मुजाहरे शायद ना हो सकें, लेकिन बहरहाल छोटे पैमाने पर जहां तक हालात इजाज़त देते हैं वो कश्मीर यौम यकजहती कश्मीर जो है 5 फरवरी को मनाने की तैयारियां सब तंजीमों ने जो है वो शुरू कर दी हैं। इस सिलसिले में स्टुटगार्ट और फ्रैंकफर्ट के अंदर जो है मुजाहरों की इजाज़त भी ली गई है, जिसके लिए हिफाजी इक़दामात के तहत वो मुजाहरे वगैरह जो किए जाएंगे। आज सफारत खाना बर्लिन ने इसी हवाले से एक ऑनलाइन सेमिनार का इनेकाद किया था, जिसमें पाकिस्तान से आज़ाद कश्मीर के सदर जनाब तारिक मसूद साहब और कश्मीर कमेटी के जो सदर हैं मिनिस्टर शहरयार आफरीदी साहब, उन्होंने और जर्मन सियासतदानों ने उस ऑनलाइन सेमिनार से खिताब किया और कश्मीर के मुनसिफाना हल की ज़रूरत पर जोर दिया है। इस सेमिनार की निज़ामत जो है वो सफ़ीर पाकिस्तान जनाब डॉक्टर मोहम्मद फैसल साहब ने की और आज के प्रोग्राम में हम अपने नाज़रीन को इस ऑनलाइन सेमिनार का आंखों देखा हाल जो है वो पेश कर रहे हैं। आइए और हमारे साथ जो है इस सेमिनार का आंखों देखा हाल मुलाज़ा फरमाएं।
Meanwhile, maybe we can introduce ourselves. So I am Mohammad Faisal. I am the ambassador of Pakistan to Germany. And if one by one you people can starting from Mr. Grosse, I think we can move on.
Okay, hello everyone. It's a very great pleasure to be here. I make it short and simple. My name is Mr. Christian Grosse. I'm the chairman and founder, president of Open International Dialogue. And I'm very engaged in SMEs. I'm the chairman of the so-called Liberaler Mittelstand. It's a business association in Germany with about 1,300 companies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lord Wajid Khan, briefly.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and it's an honor and privilege to be amongst yourselves. And I was just following on from Mr. Christian Grosse. I think that's a huge introduction there of an important organization. I serve as a member of the House of Lords in the United Kingdom, Westminster, our parliament here. I have also served as a member of European Parliament, and I've had great privilege in meeting some fine German colleagues in the European Parliament. Thank you.
Farm Malik.
My name is Gulfam Malik, and I am a member of Parliament, Hamburg province.
Thank you, Gulfam Saab. Volker? Mr. Shapke. Can you hear me, Volker?
So unmute.
You have to unmute yourself, yeah.
Your Excellency, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Dr. Faisal, thank you very much for inviting me again. It's a traditional great honor for me ever since along my days to make a statement on this very important Kashmir Day. I'm the president of honor of the Russian Society and a consultant of BWI. Thank you very much for inviting me, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Ali Asghar Saab.
My name is Ali Asghar. I'm from Gujranwala, Pakistan, living here in Germany, Hamburg, and have a small investment company and trading. To my other hobbies, I belong to work for communities, and I am the regional director of German Pakistan Forum. It is a 60-year-old, one of the oldest forums here.
Ji Mahwish Khan Saiba.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. It's me, Mahwish Khan. I live in Berlin and I am doing my job as a journalist for Hum News and Urdu Point and so many other channels and newspapers.
Thank you, Mahwish. Beg Saab. Farooq Beg Saab. आवाज नहीं आ रही है, वो म्यूट है. We can't hear you.
जी जी, अब आवाज आ रही है?
Fine जी, fine. Please.
Thank you so much. सबसे पहले तो सदैत राम सर, डॉक्टर फैसल साहब, आपका बहुत शुक्रिया, आपने ये मौका फराहम किया. मेरा नाम फारूक बेग है और मैं बेसिकली कश्मीर से हूँ और मैं आपका यहाँ पे जो है तहरीक कश्मीर यूरोप का जो है वो मैं जर्मनी में जनरल सेक्रेटरी हूँ और ये हमारे प्रोग्राम जो होते रहते हैं, सरदार मसूद साहब भी हमारे साथ शामिल होते रहते हैं और मैं यहाँ जर्मनी में जो है ब्रीमन शहर में रह रहा हूँ. और थैंक यू सो मच कि आपने मुझे जो है हम सब लोगों को ये अपॉर्चुनिटी जो है फराहम की है आज के जदीद दौर में जूम के जरिए. और मैं जो Volker साहब हैं, ich begrüße Sie Herrn Volker auch und ich bedanke mich, dass Sie auch mit uns teilgenommen haben.
Shukriya.
Thank you so much.
Shukriya, Beg Saab. The President Saab is here, so he needs no introduction. Only one thing I always say, because everything I've learned from him. He's my teacher. So, sir, we are in your hands, and we have Lord Wajid Khan, who was an MEP. We have Volker Schapke. We have Michel. We have a lot of people here. We had a brief intro, but they would listen to you and benefit from your thoughts, sir. You have the floor, sir. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Ambassador Faisal. It's a pleasure to see you on screen. And other participants, I greet them. I take this opportunity to congratulate Mr. Wajid Khan for being designated and elected, as a matter of fact, member of the House of Lords of the United Kingdom. It's a great honor for us. He's a dynamic and passionate defender of the rights of the Kashmiris, and he created a huge stir in the European Parliament because of his very, very strong initiative. So, and the cast that you have assembled today is very impressive. Let me also in the same breath say that over the years, you, Ambassador Faisal, have been working for the realization of the right to self-determination as a spokesman of the Foreign Ministry, also as Director General South Asia. Your efforts have been really appreciated by the people of Jammu and Kashmir. You've touched the hearts and minds of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. So it's my privilege to be part of this seminar. A couple of themes that I want to touch upon. First is the importance of this day. Today we mark or observe the Kashmir Solidarity Day. Why? Because India propagates that Kashmiris are isolated and that Pakistan doesn't have allies around the world. But this day today, the Kashmir Solidarity Day, demonstrates, and we are holding this event, you're holding this event on the eve of Kashmir Solidarity Day, that the people of Azad Kashmir, the people of Pakistan, and Kashmiris and Pakistanis all around the world and their friends and their networks, they expressed solidarity with the people of Jammu and Kashmir all around the world. And on the 5th of February, I can tell you that this day is marked in more than 100 countries, in scores of cities inside those countries. So this goes on to demonstrate that the people of Jammu and Kashmir have not been deserted by the international community, that support for them exists amongst the masses of the world, not just confined to diplomatic forums or closed chambers, that they have the support from all over the world. So this is what I want to underline. And I also want to thank the embassies abroad, and particularly the diaspora community, who have made this day, or this Kashmir Day, Kashmir Solidarity Day, an international day. And the embassies, our embassies, the embassies of Pakistan and the diaspora community have worked in tandem, and they have ensured that the Kashmir movement becomes an international movement. So these days are the days to send this message to the people of Jammu and Kashmir who are besieged and who are being brutalized every day, that we will continue to fight for their rights, and we will spare no sacrifice in this path of our quest for freedom and liberty for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. My second point is that the situation in the Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir is horrendous. Sometimes you run out of words to describe the situation there, because this situation doesn't have any precedent in the 21st century, of course, but also not exactly in the 20th century. I'll tell you that people are being killed and maimed and blinded and forcibly disappeared and killed in staged encounters. The women are being raped and sexually molested. Sexual violence is being used as a weapon of war. Kashmiri women have been fetishized and they're presented as objects or spoils of war. The businesses of Kashmiris have been delegitimized. Their jobs have been dropped. The situation continues to deteriorate. That's not all. On August the 5th, 2019, India invaded the territory. In fact, 900,000 troops invaded the territory. They reoccupied the territory. They bifurcated it into two parts. One is called Ladakh, the other is called Jammu and Kashmir. They annexed this territory to their federation illegally, without the consent of the people. And then what they did was that they have totally disenfranchised people. And right now, they're dispossessing the people of Jammu and Kashmir. A process of systematic dispossession is going on. What is happening? They have said that Kashmiri's land is not their land, that it can be commandeered and confiscated by the occupation authorities at will in order to establish or construct illegal settlements or to start enterprises. Second, what they're doing is that there's a cultural invasion of the territory. And finally, they want to eliminate the people of Jammu and Kashmir. They want to, in fact, change the nation. It's a Muslim majority state, the occupied territory, and they want to turn it into a Hindu nation, or Hindu Rashtra as they call it. So these are grave crimes against humanity. These are war crimes. This is ethnic cleansing, reminiscent of the cleansing that took place in the Balkans in the 1990s. This is akin to what happened in Rwanda and Burundi. And while I'm addressing people sitting in Germany, you're hosting this event in Germany, I would say that Germany has gone through this trauma like nobody else. I mean, last century during the interwar period and also during the war, they witnessed such measures, for instance, migration of people, mass migration of people, declaration of citizens, segments of society as second-rate citizens, their incarceration in concentration camps, their incineration in these gas chambers. They've seen these crimes. And Germany, the people of Germany, in fact, reversed that cycle of Nazism and fascism and violent extremism. And today, Germany is a beacon of liberty and freedom and human rights for the rest of the world. So Germany can play a pivotal role in helping us reverse the situation in the Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Let me also tell you that, you know, India has targeted the Indian regime. When I say India, I mean the Bharatiya Janata Party and Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, they have targeted Kashmir in pursuit of their violent extremist doctrine, which is called Hindutva, which presumes that in South Asia or in India, only Hindus should live because that's a superior religion. All others should vaporize and disappear. That if they are Muslims, either they are outsiders, intruders, infiltrators, or if they have converted to Islam, they must be reconverted to Hinduism. And they are creating this stress, huge stress for Muslims inside India. The only crime of the people of Jammu and Kashmir is that they are Muslims, and the majority of them are Muslims, and therefore they are being eliminated and annihilated. So that's why I say that the worst Islamophobic hotspot in the world is the Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Second point that I want to make is that Indians go around the world, and while the magnet for the rest of the world in India is economic and commercial relations with a big market in India and the strategic ties of the Western countries with India, so vis-a-vis China, the real reason for this planned annihilation of the people of Jammu and Kashmir in the occupied territory is their religion, because they are being discriminated against because they are Muslims. And Muslims have to go away en bloc, en masse. They have no place in the so-called secular democratic India. But it's the disputed territory. It doesn't belong to Kashmir. It doesn't belong to India. It belongs to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and this decision was handed down by the United Nations Security Council in the late 1940s and 1950s, and those resolutions are operative. What do those resolutions say? They don't talk about war. They do not talk about migration of population, forced migration of population, or organized migration of population, or illicit transfer of population into the occupied territory. According to the statistics that I have, in the past 6 months, India has already imported or illegally transferred some 2 million Hindus from India to settle in Kashmir so that they can change the demographic composition of the territory. This is a war crime. It's a war crime in accordance with the ICC statute, the 4th Geneva Convention. It's also genocide, as a matter of fact. I mean, this kind of genocide is a slow-moving genocide, and I use this term with some responsibility after having checked the precedents and also the applicable law. So this is what is happening. India goes around and tells the world that it is fighting terrorism in Kashmir. Let me give you this testimony that there is no terrorism by Kashmiris right now. 900,000 of them, and then occupation authorities who are brutalizing the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And I mean, according to the occupation forces, the number of so-called militants is less than 150. And they usually boast about having tackled these militants, that they are no threat to the occupied territory or to India. So this is a falsehood that they sell to the rest of the world and try to divert their attention. But I would say, for instance, I mean, Berlin knows what is happening. Berlin has the most sophisticated, the most developed intelligence system in the world. Similarly, its diplomats are very vigilant. Newspapers, not only Germany, the entire Europe, Western Europe, the European Union knows what is happening in the Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, I'll tell you that this European Union in Europe, this Disinfo Lab, they exposed that Indians were operating 750 fake accounts and entities to demonize Pakistan, to demonize the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And they were misleading the MAPs in this context. In fact, they were trying to delude them into believing that what they were doing was. So they need to be stopped, as a matter of fact. Kashmiris need to be saved from the scourge of devastation and destruction and annihilation as a people. I think that if the world doesn't act, if powerful nations like Germany do not act, they look the other way, in the result would be dereliction of obligations. And we know that when you appease dictators and autocrats, what is the consequence? You know, last century, the world tried to appease Hitler and his cohorts. And what was the result? He got emboldened, and he, in fact, started conquering his neighboring countries. And then the world had to get together, all these like-minded countries, and they assembled the biggest war machine in the history of the world to wrestle down this monster. And what was the cost? Hundreds of millions of people were killed. And Europe was not what it was before these wars. So what I want to say is that of course, I would also take this opportunity to thank the outstanding leader of Germany, Ms. Angela Merkel, who is probably one of the most outstanding statesmen of our times, of all times, as a matter of fact. I'm grateful to her and to the German nation, but particularly to her because she raised her voice about the Kashmiris and in Delhi during her visit. And we're really grateful to her and to the people of Germany. We seek the support of the German parliament, of German parliamentarians. I've met many German parliamentarians in the European Parliament, and they were very sympathetic. I mean, some time ago, when I visited Brussels, I met the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the European Parliament, and he was a German. He was very sympathetic. He heard me out, and we are very grateful to Germany for its moral support to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. I think that what we seek is support to the people of Jammu and Kashmir in the German Parliament. Let there be Friends of Kashmir or Friends of Pakistan group which should raise their voices for the protection of the rights of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and end to these horrendous crimes against humanity in Kashmir. So I would also appeal to the civil society, German civil society. Some years ago, I was in Germany, and I had the opportunity to address a think tank there. And I was so reassured by the kind of interaction that I had with the civil society representatives, academics, and representatives of human rights organizations. They were all sympathetic. They were all outraged about these crimes. So I would say that if you would not do anything now, it would be too late, because the Indian violent extremist leaders plan to change the demography of the region, and now by now they have inducted more than 2 million people. In next 2 years, they want to import more than 5 to 6 million people. And if this process continues, you will have a new Kashmir, not a Kashmir that we've been defending for the past 73 years. That would not be the end of the problem. That would be the beginning of a turbulent phase in the history of Jammu and Kashmir, a new turbulent phase in the history of Jammu and Kashmir and South Asia. let me also tell you that we, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, for the past 200 years have not laid down our arms. We have not capitulated. We have not surrendered. India has escalated its repression every year. And we have said no to India. And we said that we would continue to fight until we get our right to self-determination. And I reiterate this, that we will remember who was with us in this dark hour. In Berlin and Brussels and London and New York and Tokyo and all over the world, the Middle Eastern capitals and ASEAN capitals. We'll remember them. We'll remember them. The people of Jammu and Kashmir are suffering. And we will remember who stood by us, who stood with us. Because I have seen this when I was sitting in the Security Council, and I've seen that there was a genocide that took place in Rwanda and Burundi back in the 1990s. And in 2013, there was a session in the Security Council. Everybody there, all the members of the Security Council, were wringing their hands in contrition, and some of them were even crying about that crime that was committed. And yet they did not move at the right time. That compunction after the massacre has taken place, after the genocide has taken place, after a people has been completely destroyed, has no import, has no impact. So I appeal to you, for God's sake, step forward, intervene, use your influence and clout in the international forums, and try to rescue the people of Jammu and Kashmir before it is too late. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to talk to you, to this very informed and enlightened audience.
Thank you very much, sir. It's always wonderful to listen to you, and we always benefit. I'm sure the rest of the participants have found it very informative and enlightening. I would now invite Lord Wajid Khan for his inputs, please. Wajid.
Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellency, Dr. Faisal, Ambassador of Pakistan in Germany, Your Excellency, Mr. President Sardar Masood Khan, respected colleagues, brothers and sisters, peace and blessings upon you. I was listening with great attention to what Mr. President had to say, and I think it is a heartfelt plea to all of us in the name of humanity to do something about our brothers and sisters and children who have been suffering for over 70 years in Kashmir. I'm delighted to join you today because it is a big deal that the Kashmir issue hasn't been internationalized to the levels that other injustices around the world, such as Palestine. We have to learn the lesson of how people have been able to internationalize. And I say this as a former member of European Parliament who has had the great pleasure to work with German MEP colleagues from across the political spectrum, whether that's David McAllister, who's the chair of foreign affairs from the CDU political party, or whether that's Bernd Lange, who's the chair of the International Trade Committee from this SPD group. I have to say this, and the Foreign Affairs Committee are huge influential committees. Why is it important? Because we can write as people in Germany to our MEPs and contact them and tell them, Bernd Lange, as chair of trade, we shouldn't put trade and money over lives and human rights. Foreign affairs, if you want to look at peace between India and Pakistan, you will not get that until we get justice for the Kashmiris. It's great to be amongst people from different perspectives in Germany, whether journalists, activists, business world. I just want to say a few words to yourself, and I hope that we can take this as a renewed purpose to internationalize the issue. My vision, and I do this as a British parliamentarian, and we have the moral duty to do something about this, because unfortunately we thought we were doing the right thing, but in the end this was part of our legacy. In fact, we were never good at partition, and we have a moral duty to do something about this. But I will want to visit Germany and other parts of Europe and now develop a roadshow to internationalize this issue, because what is 5th of February? It's Kashmir Solidarity. It's an opportunity for all of us to renew our purpose and renew our passion to ensure that what's happening in Kashmir is highlighted, people are made aware, educated, and these human rights abuses stop in Kashmir. And Kashmiris, who are the main contestants in this, are given the right to self-determination. And when you hear about these disaster, heartbreaking stories in relation to mass graves, half widows, children as young as 9 years old having to suffer from pellet gun shots and losing lives because of the use of pellet guns. And I want to say a huge thank you to Dr. Faisal, who, when he was in another role, he came to the European Parliament and attended the Kashmir human rights hearing, and he made sure that he put his perspective and his country's perspective. And Pakistan is the only country in the world that has persistently raised the issue of Kashmir at every international forum. So that is so important. Without the voices of brothers and sisters in Pakistan, Kashmir issue wouldn't be at such international level at the moment. And I think we've got to make this clear. I welcome and I always appreciate my brothers and sisters from India, who rightly are always outraged at what the BJP right-wing RSS-inspired government is doing to its people. And if you want to see further evidence of this vision of the government of the day in India, look at what's happening to the farmers in Delhi. Look how they're treating their own people. We can't just stand back and say, let's just leave that to India. India can't say this is our constitutional matter. No, universal human rights are important. You can't say, oh, multilateral, we don't want it. We don't want to do bilateral with Pakistan. We want to do in a unilateral. It's not going to happen. We have to raise awareness of this. And today, through this forum and through this opportunity, we can speak to each other. And I promise you, it's great in this current light to have the use of technology, and we've all embraced technology so well. I want to visit Germany. I want to speak to people, Kashmiri or non-Kashmiri, because this isn't about being Kashmiri. It's about being human. It's the cause of humanity. And as Mr. President said, we are going to be looked back on history, and people will be thinking, what did the people of the time do when them brothers and sisters of Kashmir were facing the strictest of lockdown, the blackouts, the curtailment of human rights? What did you do? What did we do collectively, sitting in our comfortable homes in the UK, in Germany? And this is something we've got to look and work towards. I just want to say a few words about some of the legislation: the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, the Public Safety Act. Do you know, to this day, not one Indian military personnel has been punished for the way they have used violence against civilians in Kashmir, because they have immunity. That is the shocking reality of the situation in Kashmir. I'd like to just say, Germany, we should learn from Germany. France and Germany in 1945, the way they came together to rebuild Europe. France and Germany is the example. We have it there. Closer to my home, we have Northern Ireland, where we had the US. Take place. We need real, honest international. We need countries to take interest, and the only way we can do this is to us as individuals and activists put pressure on our politicians, put pressure on our leaders, and we can make sure we can do our part, because we want to see that area free from human rights abuses and peace and prosper and cooperation taking place. My final point is, it's really important to recognize that in the end, we have a lot of power. This day is to remind ourselves of all we can do, the social media channels we can highlight this issue. I will make sure, from my point of view, I will continue to be present for seminars like this. And whenever you need me, Dr. Faisal, even though I'm sat in the UK, it's right, because it's an international issue. We have to do much more now than ever before. Words isn't enough now. We've got to show to the Kashmiri brothers and sisters who need our voices, who are desperate for people like you and me to do whatever we can within our own power. We take it for granted, the life we live here in Europe. We've got to recognize that in order for Kashmiris to be free from human rights abuses and for them to determine their future, is for ourselves as their brothers and sisters, as people who champion human rights, we make sure we make our loud voices strong and clear. So thank you very much, Dr. Faisal. I look forward to working with you and your embassy in Berlin. I look forward to working for humanity. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lord Khan, and we absolutely look forward to a visit by President. Separately arranging the visit of the foreign minister. Again, of course, Jammu and Kashmir will be number one on the agenda when he comes, only awaiting the ending of the lockdown. So one of the important persons we have, Mr. Volker Schapke. He is the president of Prussian Society and a huge supporter of our position and the Kashmiri people, and he's against Indian oppression and everything. So I'll just ask him for his comments, please. Mr. Schapke.
Yeah. Your Excellency, thank you very much once again, Ambassador Dr. Faisal, for inviting me to this very special day. So touching and very important day for the first country, Pakistan. And let me thank you as well very much for the very touching statement of President Khan, because for me it was very important that he made a look back to the history and said out of that was Germany suffered, and not only from the darkness of what Germany or the German nation and the German people did. So what they took out of it to create something new, and that we then had the energy and with the help of the rest of the world, of the United Nations world community, to have the big chance in 1989 to have a chance of the reunion. And what His Excellency the Lord said, the sample maybe would be very fine for Pakistan and India, the sample of France. We had a lot of many wars in between, and then we had a chance after 1945 to create with the rest of the world, with the United Nations, with the Security Council of the United Nations, something new. And also a lot in the many states when I had the chance in your embassy, Your Excellency, we, of course, out of our understanding of our history, we have a good feeling of what you are suffering, what the Kashmiri people are suffering. And thank you very much once again, President Khan, for his very warm and very touching words. The cry for help for us. And I'm very grateful, of course, that he mentioned so very wonderful our Chancellor, Dr. Merkel. And yes, that is the feeling of the majority of all our Germans. That is the feeling to support always Pakistan and the Kashmiri and Jammu people, especially remembering 2019. And so we are looking forward, and we especially pray on Friday the 5th of February on this very dark point of your history. And I am always, as I always told you, Your Excellency, and I will state it as well very clear to you, Mr. President, from our point of view, from our experience, from our history, I believe we will have a good future, and I believe we will have a good result, and we will overcome as well as this so long-lasting crisis. Your Excellency, Ambassador Dr. Faisal, thank you very much for inviting me once again. God bless. I pray for Pakistan, the Jammu and Kashmiri people, and I'm sure next year when we meet again, I believe we are a big step further. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Schapke. You're always very kind. I'm told the Chairman Kashmir Committee, it is a parliamentary committee comprising both the Senate and the National Assembly. Mr. Shahryar Afridi, he has joined and he would be making his comments now. If Mr. Shahryar Afridi is there. Yes, he's there. Sir, you're welcome, sir. I'm Mohammad Faisal, the ambassador. The President AJK is here, and Lord Khan is here, Wajid Khan, and many members of the German civil society. We are all ears for you, sir. Mr. Shahryar Khan Afridi, sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of the most merciful and beneficent. I'm extremely Mr.
I don't really understand what he is saying. The technical
Minister
problem, I
Sir,
think.
we can't hear you. We can't hear you. If we can reconnect, meanwhile, we might move on to, because absolutely we can't hear you. So if we can try to reconnect, meanwhile, we move on to Mr. Grosse, Christian Grosse, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for invitation to this very important day. For me, it's a great honor to be here because I have to mention that I've been invited, I think, 4 or 5 years the first time by His Excellency Jawhar Salim. And before that, I have to mention it too, I didn't know a lot of this conflict, this very, this very ugly conflict, I have to say. But since 4 or 5 years, I'm dealing with it, I'm talking with it, and I'm very, every year, thank you very much. It's a very pleasure to be invited. I was listening with great ears, also to Mr. President Khan, to your speech, and also to Mr. Khan, member of the parliament, because there are many aspects we do not know here in Germany. And I think this is a great challenge for us, because a lot of people do not really know that you have this conflict. And I think this would be also a great chance with my organization, with Open International Dialogue. We are organizing meetings, conferences in embassies to talk about these things. Not only to show with our finger on the other side, but to get in dialogue with each other. Our motto is talk to each other instead of talking about each other. And I think this is also the great challenge between your countries. The conflict in the meantime, I think it's since 1949, you have many wars, many people died, and every person who suffered on both sides and every person who died on both sides is one person too much. So, to my opinion, it's very important that you have not to take the weapons, and you have to talk every day. I think you make it, of course, but the world must also know that this conflict exists. And even in Germany, if I'm talking to some people, what I'm doing today, will have a conference to the Kashmir conflict, people do not know. And I think it's also a challenge for you, Mr. Ambassador, to make it more popular, to invite more people to get in dialogue. And so I will offer you that we make an event, a meeting, to talk about it. Perhaps we can talk about solutions. What can the international community make? I've seen that the United Nations is also involved very much. And in 2019, it was in the meantime, it was a very dangerous situation between your countries. You both have nuclear weapons. And this is also, I think, a fault of the medias. The media are not showing something about this conflict, but if it's very dangerous, suddenly you can see something in the news. So I think it's also important to show a film or make some reports about this conflict. And so, again, I will offer you, we can make an event, we can talk about it, to invite international people, international community, civil society, but also, for example, the politicians, people from universities, economy. I think it's also interesting for other regions. And so, that's it. I make it short and simple because we have so many speakers.
Thank you, Mr. Grosse. Thank you. You're always kind. Mr. Christian Grosse is the president of Open International Dialogue. So he's very rightly saying that, inshallah, when we invite the President AJK to Berlin, of course, we would use your services. The dialogue is most important, and President AJK is one of the best interlocutors that you can have for the Kashmiri people. So I think that will be as soon as the lockdown ends. We go back to the minister, the chairman Kashmir Committee Sahib. He was our minister also, and he's always very dear to us. Sir, we try again with the voice. I hope the connection is better.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of the most merciful and beneficent, Excellencies, dignitaries, it is indeed an honor for me, and I must appreciate your presence because it reminds all of us that we all not only believe in humanity, but whenever somebody at any level is at the receiving end, we all are there to not only discuss it on priority basis, rather to play a bridging role to resolve anything related to humans across the globe. Excellencies and dignitaries, hats off to our ambassador in Germany, Mr. Faisal. You are doing a fabulous job. Credit goes to you and to your entire team. And as the chairman of the Kashmir Parliamentary Committee of both the houses of Senate, as well as of the National Assembly, and then of all the key stakeholders, all the political parties, reminds one thing to the entire global community, that as civilized human, it is our fundamental responsibility to come forward and to do the needful at the highest level. Excellencies, when we talk of Germany, I lived there in Munich and especially in Hanover. And what I learned in Germany, that teamwork is their forte, is their hallmark. And where Germany stands today, it speaks again of their resilience and commitment, as the main driving force behind European Union is Germany. And Germany, how can we and the entire global community can forget that period when Germany and the entire Europe was going through a very tough phase, especially prior to First World War, and then after First World War, then prior to Second World War, and then after the Second World War. The failure of the League of Nations is something which keeps on reminding us that we need to learn from the past. And the role of the United Nations was to play a pivotal role, especially in resolving the issues across the globe. And now when we talk of Kashmir, Kashmir is not only about Pakistan and India, because after revoking 370 and 35 from Indian Constitution, they have become aggressor. It is no more a bilateral issue. It is an international armed conflict, international humanitarian crisis, and it is becoming a war zone which is haunting the global peace. Keeping in mind, in South Asia, our Prime Minister reminded the global community in his UNGA speech. In the last two interactions, he conveyed loud and clear to all the stakeholders of the globe that when we talk of Kashmir, it's not about India and Pakistan. It's about this particular region. If we include Russia, half of the globe population lives in this particular region. And when we talk of Pakistan, India, China, and then Russia, 4 nuclear powers not only exist here, but any untoward, any initiative at any level can play with the future of this entire globe. So, Excellencies, Kashmir is a flashpoint, and then 8 million people. It's not about one religion. It's about humanity. How can humans be deprived of their due rights when we talk of sustainable development goals, when we talk of civilized approach, when we talk of peace, harmony, love, affection? And as Democrats, as responsible humans, it is our collective responsibility to come forward, because few particular incidents will again, which I'm about to share, will make you realize that what humanity is going through in illegal Indian occupied Kashmir. The government of Pakistan, the Parliament of Pakistan, all the stakeholders of Pakistan are not against India, neither against the people of India. All we want that commitment which was given by United Nations through its resolutions is still binding, and all we want that the international community need to come forward and take this particular issue on priority basis and make Indians realize that it is in their best interest too. So, Excellencies, apart from what we have witnessed in the past, now let me tell you that when we talk of humanity, when we talk of human rights, women, mass rape is the order of the day in illegal Indian occupied Kashmir. In 1994, 93, 94, Kupwara, more than 800 women of all age groups, starting from age 13 up till age 80, were raped. And even this particular unhuman act is still taking place, because more than 900,000 army personnel are there, and they have subjugated, violated all sorts of human rights, and they are not only suffocating the Kashmiris from, again, and we are not talking about only Muslims, lower caste Hindus, Christians, and the policies initiated by Modi government is again, which is something which is haunting humanity. For example, they have initiated one particular initiative by the name of Ghar Wapsi program, which means come back to your home, where they are telling minorities, Muslims, Christians, that you were forcibly converted into different religions, then now you need to become Hindus. Only then you will be able to allow to live here. Then Citizenship Amendment Act is another initiative which is reminding my Muslims that you need to give your proof that you are Indians. Another area, UPA law, where anything at social media, on Twitter, Facebook, in Instagram, any post, anything initiated, or even if a journalist reports anything, they can be thrown behind bars and they can be taken to task at all levels. Then apart from these laws, another area where these Kashmiris have been deprived of their due rights, demographic terrorism is taking place, where they, after revoking 35A and 370, their rights are taken away, rights of property, rights of job. And then on top of that, when we talk of information in today's global arena where we live and we analyze and assess things accordingly, information terrorism is taking place. EU Disinfo Lab exposed India since 15 long years through from 115 countries through 750 labs. They have been constantly disinforming the entire globe about Pakistan, the role of Pakistan, and whatever has been happening in this region. Then another particular area which is again reminding us that now UN has to come forward. It is the role and responsibility, because Human Rights Committee in the last two initiatives of them in 2018-19 and 19-20, they have constantly been reminding India that you are not allowing observer to go and access the ground realities in illegal Indian occupied. Then now even the parliamentarians of Indians of opposition, they have not been allowed to enter. So now what the whole globe is going through because of COVID, imagine the way they have been subjugated, they have been restricted to their houses, people of all age group, women, children. And then another area which needs your attention, that is concentration camps. Boys and girls starting from the age of 9, 10 up till the age of 30, 35, they had been thrown in those concentration camps, where they want them to change, to make them realize that they will somehow be able to, through brainstorming or through different approaches, they will be made a part of Indian community. Now we need to realize that through force you cannot achieve your desired objective. So the world needs to realize that when we talk of humanity, when we talk of civilized approach, when we talk of democracy, when we talk of freedom of expression, freedom of raw voice, and then the way women they have been targeted at all levels, old age people, both men and women, children. So this is something which needs the attention of the global community. And I believe Europe has learned, and they have learned fast. Now European Union is a classic example. It is basically a message loud and clear to the entire global community, whether people are humans living in Africa, in North America, South America, Asia, Far East, Middle East. The world needs to learn and learn from Europe. And I believe Germany is a classic example for the entire global community. And Indians need to realize, because the global peace is very much related to this issue, which is known as the issue of Kashmir. And we need to know that since 175 years, Kashmiris are looking for peace. And then, as a responsible stakeholder of this globe, and as the chairman of Kashmir Committee of both the houses, the UN has made a commitment with Kashmiris that through right of self-determination, through plebiscite, they will be given that right. And how can we keep them at arm's length? And every now and then India makes, I shouldn't be using such undiplomatic words, but they try to deceive the global community by keeping them, reminding them that it is a bilateral issue. Please, for heaven's sake, it is not a bilateral issue. It is a multilateral issue, because UN is a part of it. For how long you can deceive people? For how long you can deceive the stakeholders of this globe? For how long you keep on humiliating humans on regular basis? I believe it's high time, and we need to pull our socks. We need to come forward and make the entire global community realize that they are, and especially Kashmiris, that they are not the children of lesser God. They deserve our attention, and Pakistan will always be there at the forefront. It is our fundamental right to play a bridging role, and now it is up to you, all of you, to make an impact, to make India realize that enough is enough. They are the ones who need our attention, and I believe responsible humans and responsible stakeholders of this globe, it is our fundamental responsibility to do the needful. Long live humanity, long live all the key stakeholders of the globe. Together we'll make a difference, and it is our fundamental role to do the needful at all levels. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. You're always very kind. As I said, he's chairman of the Kashmir Committee, which is of both houses, Senate and National Assembly, and a very, very important person. And we are very thankful for him to take some time out. And we come to the end of our event. Just one last speaker, Ms. Maria Iqbal Tarana, the chairperson of State Commission for Women of AJ Azad Jammu and Kashmir. So, Maria, if you're there, so you have the floor.
Hello, Maria, thank you very much, Dr. Faisal. I'm very much here. Thank you very much to all the speakers who have made a great speeches about Kashmir, and I'm sure Kashmir is and Kashmiri people are very close to everyone's heart. But sometimes we think, you know, the Kashmiri people, especially living in Indian occupied Kashmir, they have been fighting for their own freedom for such a long time. And today we witness people like you who have organized this seminar for this Solidarity Day of Kashmir. Is a reason that Kashmir cause is still alive. Kashmiri people still have a hope, because whatever the sacrifices are being made by Kashmiri people, the mother, the children, young man, women, old ladies, it's never been forgotten. Either it was a massacre, either it was a gang rapes like Kunan Poshpura. There's so many things in mass blindness, using phosphorus bombs, and using these draconian laws against the innocent people of Kashmir, like TADA, POTA, Public Safety Act, Armed Force Power Safety Act. These were all the crucial times which the Kashmiri people have gone through in all those 70 years. But hats off to this courageous, resilient nation who have never forgotten that one day they have a hope for this freedom. And of course, people of Pakistan, governments of Pakistan, and the people like you who have made a huge effort actually to bring it to in a limelight whenever it has come to either the human rights violations, or there was a right to freedom, right to expression, or that was a right to assembly, which people of Kashmir never had. Actually, they have never experienced something like that. just recently, as most of the speakers have covered everything, but here I would like to say recently we had just been heard that India has been trying to change not only the demography of Kashmir, but also the cultural and the political dynamics as well. Just a few days back, Muslims, artisans of Valley are being refused to purchase this shatus and pashmina wool and silk, and Modi government is trying to deprive them and just economically. Of course, we have witnessed since 2016 is a constant curfew and the lockdowns, and it has effect on their economy, but artisans of Kashmir, and they are being suffering because we all know how much shatus and pashmina was just famous around the world, and the Kashmiri woolen shawls were being admired everywhere around the globe. So that was their identity. I would say Modi government is trying hard actually to change this script of kosher language to the from Persian script to a Sanskrit script. So these are the things. And about their cuisine, that was another controversy a few days back, that they are just telling everyone to make this vazwan for not of a meat, but the vegetables. So these are all the things which are just trying to make Kashmiris being deprived and just being more conscious about their identity. So what we need to do at the moment is, as we are being highlighting human rights issues, but we must not forget that Kashmiris have their own identity, they have their own culture, they have their own language, they have their own identity for such a long time, and it's not which has been known for 100 years or 200 years, is a 5,000 years old identity, and they're very proud of it. And I'm sure living among the population of 1.5 billion people of India and Pakistan, they are only 1% of this population. And we are very thankful to people of Pakistan, the governments of Pakistan and other institutions of Pakistan who have always supported Kashmir cause, and this is the reason why Kashmir has not forgotten till today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much. My heartfelt gratitude to all the participants from Germany, from Pakistan, who all are very busy and have taken time out of their precious, precious time out of their very busy schedules. Jammu and Kashmir is in a difficult situation. The Indian occupation is creating hardships of immense nature for the local Kashmiri people, especially the women who are facing sexual violence, rape, and genocide. The Indian government's actions are well known now, and the repression that they are having, not just in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, but all around India, is not hidden anymore. And the Article 35, especially the deletion of Article 35, that means that there can be settlements, and you can try to change the language, you can try to change the demography, you can change the Urdu script, everything, as Maria also mentioned. So these are difficult times. We are really happy to see that so many people are standing with us, both in Germany and in Pakistan. From UK, Lord Khan has taken out his time. So I'm very thankful to all of you for your participation. We will try to hold a bigger event as soon as Corona situation permits us. We would want the Chairman Kashmir Committee to be here, and we would want the President AJK to be here, Lord Khan to be here, all others, and have an interactive discussion in physical presence here. I thank you once again, and I look forward to remaining in touch with you in the near future. Thank you very much, please. Shukriya.